What is time? Why physicists and philosophers still can't agree. You've felt it your entire life. The tick of a clock, the rush toward a deadline, the strange slow-motion quality of a moment of danger, the way years can feel like days and days like years. Time is the most familiar thing in the universe, and also the most mysterious. Is it a river that flows, a dimension we move through, an illusion created by our brains? Physicists cannot agree. Philosophers cannot agree. Einstein showed that time is relative, that your now is not the same as my now. But that still doesn't tell us whether the past really exists, whether the future is already written, or whether time itself is even real. This is the deep metaphysics of the thing that governs every single moment of your life. And today, we're going to walk through the biggest open question in science and philosophy. What is time? You're watching Divine Narrative. We explored the biggest questions. Not to give you easy answers, but to make you see the world differently. Today's question is one of the oldest and most unsettled in all of human thought. We'll cover what time feels like to us, what physics has discovered, what philosophy still argues about, and why this matters for your everyday life. This will bend your mind, but that's the point. The two meanings of time. Let's start with a basic distinction. There's the time we experience, the feeling of waiting, the memory of years past, the anticipation of tomorrow. Psychologists call this phenomenological time. It's subjective, elastic, and deeply tied to emotion. A boring lecture drags. A joyful conversation flies by. Then there's the time of physics, measured by atomic clocks, governed by equations, supposedly objective. For centuries, physics treated time as a universal, steady beat. A cosmic metronome, ticking at the same rate for everyone, everywhere. Isaac Newton called this absolute time. He wrote that it flows equably without relation to anything external. That made intuitive sense. But then Einstein arrived, and he showed that Newton was wrong. Not just a little wrong, but fundamentally wrong. Time, Einstein said, is not a fixed drumbeat. It bends, it stretches, it slows down when you move faster and warps near massive objects. Einstein, time is not a clock. In 1905, Einstein published his special theory of relativity. Its most shocking implication: time is relative to your motion. If you are moving fast relative to someone else, your clock ticks slower, from their perspective. The classic example: a twin who travels near the speed of light and returns to find their sibling much older. This is not a trick of measurement. It really happens. Particles called muons, which should decay in microseconds, survive longer because they are moving at nearly light speed. Then, in 1915, general relativity added another twist. Gravity also warps time. A clock at sea level ticks slower than a clock on a mountaintop, because Earth's gravity is stronger near the surface. This has been measured. GPS satellites have to correct for it daily. So your head is actually a little older than your feet. Einstein's conclusion: time is not a separate background. It is woven together with space into a four-dimensional fabric, space-time. But here's where it gets strange. If time is relative and space-time is a unified block, then what do we mean by now? The block universe, past, present, future, all exist. If space-time is a single four-dimensional block, then nothing changes. Change requires a moving now. But relativity shows that now is not absolute. So many physicists embrace the block universe model. The past, present, and future all exist, equally real, laid out like a loaf of bread. Your birth, your first kiss, your death, all of them are just coordinates in this block. The feeling that time flows is an illusion of human consciousness. This view is sometimes called eternalism. The famous physicist Hermann Weyl said, "The objective world simply is. It does not happen." In other words, there is no passage of time. There is only a static four-dimensional landscape. You don't travel through time any more than a car travels from left to right on a map. You just have different positions. But does that mean the future is already written? And if so, do we have free will? The arrow of time. Why only one direction? If time doesn't flow, why do we remember the past and not the future? That asymmetry is called the arrow of time. For early physicists, it was simple. Time has a direction because of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics says entropy, disorder, always increases. Eggs unscramble? Never. A broken cup reassembles? Impossible. The universe moves from order to disorder, and that gives time a direction. Memory is a physical record of past, higher order. But here's the catch. The laws of physics themselves are symmetric in time. At the microscopic level, you can reverse the equations and they work just as well. So why does entropy only increase in one direction? The most compelling answer is the past hypothesis. The universe started in an incredibly low entropy state at the Big Bang. That initial condition breaks the symmetry. So time's arrow is not built into the laws. It's a consequence of the universe's boundary conditions. In other words, we remember the past and not the future, because the past was more ordered, and that's just the way the universe began. Quantum mechanics, time may not be fundamental. Meanwhile, quantum physics throws another wrench into the works. In quantum mechanics, time usually appears as a parameter, not something that can be measured in the same way as position or momentum. But recent attempts to unify quantum theory with gravity, loop quantum gravity, string theory, suggest that at the most fundamental level, time might not exist at all. The Wheeler-DeWitt equation, which attempts to describe the wave function of the universe, famously has no time variable. As Carlo Rovelli puts it, time disappears from the fundamental equations. What we call time emerges only as a large-scale, approximate feature of the world. So time, like the smoothness of water, might be an illusion, a temperature-like property that appears only when you have enough particles. At the Planck scale, the smallest possible length, the notion of before and after, may break down completely. The great debate, does time flow or not? So where does this leave us? Physicists are split. Some, like Einstein, embrace the block universe, the view that time is just a dimension and the flow of time is an illusion. Others, like Lee Smolin, argue that time is fundamental, and that the block universe is a mistake because it leaves out the reality of change. Philosophy has been debating this since before Aristotle. Presentists believe only the present exists. Eternalists believe past and future are just as real. Growing block theorists add that the past and present exist, but the future does not yet. The disagreement is not just academic. It touches on free will, personal identity, and the meaning of life. If the future already exists, can you choose anything? If nothing ever becomes, if the universe is static, then why do we care about tomorrow? The debate remains wide open. So what? How to live without knowing? You might be thinking, this is fascinating, but does it change how I live? I believe it does. Because whether time flows or not, you experience it as flowing. That moment of sunset, the one that feels precious because it will never come again. That feeling is real, even if physics says all moments coexist. The urgency of a deadline, the grief of loss, the joy of reunion. These are what matter. The block universe does not make your choices irrelevant. It only says that the choice you make now is as real as the consequences later. And if time emerges from quantum interactions, that emergence is reality for creatures like us. We live in time. We die in time. We love in time. Understanding its mystery should not paralyze us. It should deepen our wonder. Every tick of the clock is a gift, because whether it flows or not, you only get to experience it once, from your unique point of view. So the next time you feel time dragging or flying, remember, you are part of the universe's strangest, most beautiful feature. The fact that time is up for debate is not a failure of science. It's an invitation to think, to wonder, and to live fully. The great question remains, what is time? Physicists and philosophers will keep arguing, but the most honest answer is, we don't know. And that uncertainty is humbling. 400 years after Galileo, 300 after Newton, 100 after Einstein, time still keeps its secret. Maybe the secret is that there is no secret, or maybe we haven't asked the right question yet. If this video shifted your perspective, subscribe to Divine Narrative. We dig into the deepest questions of existence, from the edges of physics to the mysteries of consciousness. Hit the bell so you won't miss our next exploration. Comment below. Do you believe time flows, or is it an illusion? Tell me where you stand. Until next time, stay curious and don't waste a single moment. Time is the river we swim in without ever touching the bottom. Keep swimming.